Madrid, 1834. You are summoned as the royal physician in the dimly lit palace corridors. King Ferdinand VII is dead, but your duty is not over. Queen Regent Maria Cristina, tearful but resolute, awaits you in the room. Her order leaves you speechless. Protect the king's body, especially that thing under the bedsheets. Even in death, this man who ruled Spain with tyranny for 20 years seems to mock you. It is not his face that catches your attention, but his grotesque, abnormally large and misshapen appendage. This anatomical monstrosity, whispered about by historians, but never recorded in official records, was the shame of a king, the curse of an empire. Special cushions, screaming wives, desperate attempts to produce an heir. As you protect this piece of flesh, the horrific tales of the palace flood your mind. How did this deformity destroy a kingdom? How can a king's deepest shame change the fate of a nation? Was Ferdinand VII's physical curse merely a personal tragedy, or the key to Spain's downfall? Keep watching, because this story will reveal the dark dance of power and shame. The story of Ferdinand VII begins with cursed blood, not magic or divine wrath. Rather, the poisonous legacy of centuries of royal consanguineous marriages. The Spanish Habsburgs and Bourbons had created a genetic nightmare by marrying cousins, uncles, and nephews. Mental instability, physical deformities. Ferdinand was a living example of this decaying lineage. He was born on October 14, 1784, at the Palace of El Escorial. His father, Charles IV, was a weak-willed king who preferred hunting to governing. His mother, Maria Luisa de Parma, openly flaunted her relationship with Manuel de Godoy. Ferdinand grew up in this dysfunctional family, absorbing betrayals and humiliations. But the greatest betrayal was within his own body, an abnormality unnoticed in childhood, but evident in adolescence. His sexual organ defied medical understanding: a narrow base, a fist-thick tip, abnormal length and curves. In reports stored in the Vatican archives, doctors wrote, "His Majesty's organ is of extraordinary size and strange shape. Intimate relations may be difficult." Another physician described it as like a billiard cue, with a base as thick as a candle, a tip like a fist, and as long as a cane. This was not something modern men would envy. At the time, small and proportionate genitalia, according to Greek ideals, were considered aristocratic. Ferdinand's made him a freak. Shame opened a deep wound. Ferdinand's childhood was a lesson in humiliation that shaped his soul. He witnessed his father's weakness and his mother's infidelity. He learned about power, betrayal, and distrust. But his physical abnormality twisted his character. Whispers spread through the palace. Servants giggled. Courtiers joked. Diplomats reported. Ferdinand learned early on that his most private part was a subject of ridicule. This bred resentment in him. He saw mockery in every greeting, every smile. His paranoia was justified. People were laughing, but he exaggerated everything. In adolescence, his behavior changed: mysterious, vengeful, cruel. He fired servants for minor mistakes. A priest's memoirs recount an incident where a page accidentally saw Ferdinand undressing. The boy was whipped, his family expelled from Madrid. The message was clear: no one who saw the prince's shame could go unpunished. When he reached marriageable age, doctors had to confront the problem. Dr. Francisco Flores' secret notes: the organ starts with a base as wide as a thumb. The tip exceeds natural proportions. It is over 10 inches long and enlarges when aroused. There are folds and excess tissue. Normal intercourse was impossible. The risk of injury was high. Court artisans created marriage aids, cushions, supports, oils, ointments. Ferdinand tried to normalize it with potions and spells. Rhinoceros, horn pearl, powder, rare herbs. All were in vain. Charlatans deceived him. In 1802, he married his cousin, Princess Maria Antonia of Naples and Sicily. Young, beautiful, intelligent. Upon hearing the nickname, the Desired One, she had imagined a fairy tale. The wedding was magnificent, music, celebrations, but the night turned into a nightmare. The servants requested special preparations, cushions, oils, tools. Maria Antonia was innocent and sheltered. She had vague ideas about marriage. When she saw Ferdinand naked, she screamed, "Monster," and leaned against the wall. His member was like a stick, twisted, with strange growths. Doctors were called. Cushions were arranged. Oils were applied. This was more like a medical procedure than love. Maria Antonia took laudanum to endure the pain. The trauma began. Drug addiction, fear, the attempts to produce an heir turned into a ritual nightmare. Preparing the room, administering the drug, the procedure. Months, years passed. No pregnancy. Ferdinand blamed his wife's disgust. He turned to astrology. 2 lunar cycles. An Eastern mystic suggested rituals, calling it the dragon staff, incense, hymns, positions. She became pregnant twice. In 1804, she miscarried at 4 months. Doctors said it was a delicate constitution, but it was real trauma. In 1805, she lost the baby near delivery. A bloody birth finished off Maria Antonia. Ferdinand blamed his wife. Deliberate miscarriage. Liberal sympathies. In 1807, she died at 21. The official cause was fever. The real one, despair. Ferdinand spread rumors of poisoning. The pharmacist died mysteriously. Instead of mourning, he sought a new wife. He focused on fertile women. Doctors developed new treatments, sophisticated instruments, surgical experiments. Ferdinand's character transformed into that of an empathy-deficient tyrant. People were either tools or obstacles. The tragedy of Ferdinand's first marriage further distorted his character. He was now devoid of empathy. People were either tools or obstacles. He issued cruel orders to the palace staff. Those who saw his nakedness disappeared, and guards who failed to keep secrets were sent to dangerous frontiers. His paranoia grew. He saw mockery everywhere. He kept lists, plotted revenge. In 1807, he conspired with nobles and officers. The Fernandinos group planned to overthrow his father, Charles IV, and Godoy. They presented Ferdinand as the Desired One, but concealed his instability. The conspiracy was uncovered at El Escorial, with Napoleon's help. Ferdinand acted cowardly. He betrayed his partners, gave names, begged for forgiveness. The conspirators were imprisoned. He escaped. This was the model of his reign. Use and discard. His deformity worsened. It grew, changed shape. Doctors suspected hormonal disorders like megalophalia. Manipulable women were sought for new wives. The palace workshops made complex devices, adjustable cushions, straps. Some resembled instruments of torture. The craftsmen were silenced. Some met mysterious deaths. In 1808, Napoleon invaded Spain. Ferdinand was deposed and imprisoned for 6 years at the Château de Valençay. French intelligence knew about his deformity. Doctors examined him and conducted experiments in Napoleon's archives. He was described as belonging to a mythological creature. During his captivity, Ferdinand wrote letters to European royalty, seeking brides who would accept his special condition. Spain was burning, but he was thinking about his bedroom. When he returned in 1814, the people welcomed him enthusiastically. Flowers, tears. But Ferdinand's priority was not governance. It was finding a new wife. The dark decade began. Political oppression, but above all, sexual obsession. He ordered new devices from German, Italian, and Ottoman craftsmen. The collection was an example of perverse craftsmanship. His second wife, the Portuguese Maria Isabel, arrived in 1816 at the age of 19. She had been warned, but the reality was terrifying. The wedding was magnificent. The night was filled with screams, blood-stained sheets, broken furniture. Isabel developed tremors, flinching whenever Ferdinand entered. They called it hysterical attacks. Today we would say trauma. Ferdinand took her fear as an insult. He had her letters read, her food tasted, her rooms searched. The pressure to produce an heir was maddening. German anatomists, French physicians, circus performers were invited. The bedroom became a medical theater. Notes were taken, drawings made. He toured Europe. They called him Spain's monstrous manhood. The American colonies rebelled. Propaganda portrayed Ferdinand's impotence as divine punishment. The Inquisition was revived. They investigated sexual slander. Secret passages and mirrors were used for spying. Isabel's imaginary pregnancies brought hope and disappointment. She died in 1818. Nervous exhaustion, but probably self-destruction. Ferdinand ordered an autopsy for murder, had the servants arrested. He had a death mask made and spoke to her in her room. The third wife, Saxon Maria Josepha Amalia, arrived in 1819 at the age of 24. Her family was penniless. She came prepared, with her own doctor and instruments. The marriage was clinical. She kept notes, dates, techniques. Ferdinand interpreted her coldness as spying. He intercepted her letters. 10 years passed. Spain collapsed. The colonies gained independence. Ferdinand postponed cabinet meetings, preoccupied with doctors. While the people starved, he spent a fortune on sexual advisors. In 1829, she became pregnant. Europe was shocked. Ferdinand was mad. Guards, doctors, blessings. But in the 7th month, complications arose. Placental abruption. Ferdinand consulted mystics. He screamed during the birth, claiming sabotage. The baby girl lived for a few hours. Josepha died 3 weeks later. Ferdinand refused to bury the bodies. He attempted resurrection. The palace stank. He finally buried them and had masks made. In 1829, his fourth marriage, Maria Cristina of Naples. After the negotiations ended, it was discovered she was pregnant by another man. The wedding was comical. Her belly was visible. Ferdinand accepted it hopelessly, calling it a divine gift. Isabella was born in 1830, but Ferdinand knew she was not his biological child. Nevertheless, he declared her the legal heir. His relationship with Maria Cristina was a sham. She pretended to respect him. Ferdinand pretended to be a father. In his later years, he struggled with deformity. Old age made success impossible. Doctors monitored him, but to no avail. Ferdinand constantly spied on Maria Cristina. He had holes drilled in the walls. He used spies. Meals were tasted for 30 minutes, for poison. The servants grew weary. Some fainted. This confirmed Ferdinand's suspicions. Maria Cristina's letters were intercepted. "I live in a glass cage," she wrote. Ferdinand tested his ministers. He would say contradictory things and consider correction treason. The palace became a theater of espionage. He was obsessed with Isabella. He would stare at her for hours, comparing her to portraits. To prove his paternity, he hired geneticists and physiognomists. The reports were ambiguous. His bedroom was filled with masks of dead wives, tools, and sacred objects. Maria Cristina shed her hair from stress and trembled. In 1832, paranoia about poisoning, he ordered examinations before sexual contact. Europe was horrified. Diplomats reported. Alliances stalled. Spain fell apart. Colonies left. The economy collapsed. Ferdinand had secret passages and alarms installed. He spent his fortune. His health deteriorated. Insomnia, tremors, cognitive decline. His speeches were rife with accusations. He died on September 29, 1833. The official cause was gout. The real cause, exhaustion. Autopsy. His penis measured 14 inches, scarred. He had attempted self-surgery. It was hidden in the Vatican archives. Ferdinand's story illustrates the dangerous combination of power and personal suffering. 3 dead wives, a suspicious daughter, a populace living in terror. Spain never fully recovered for generations. The tragedy of the monarchy, one man's problem, millions' fate. Do history's hidden truths still shape us? Think about it.